Today we're talking about Wolverine's possible futures in the cinematic world, but first, we're going to talk about this week's Game of Thrones on Know You're Wrong. Welcome to another episode of Know You're Wrong. I am Colin Buckingham, and today I'm joined with Joey Skaggs and Mike Kolb, and we're Big Kid Studios. And today we are going to get into last week's episode of Game of Thrones. So if you're not caught up, there's going to be a lot of spoilers because a lot of stuff happened this week.
Oh man, it was rough.
It was emotional roller coaster.
It was rough.
So first off, we'll go into the situation at the wall. There's a lot of random stuff kind of happened around there. But we'll start with Sansa and Littlefinger's confrontation because that was a fun little
She stepped
social
up
battle
recently.
Yeah.
I mean, she's like, I know we talked about this before, but like compared to like the first season when everyone just kind of hated her, she's got some balls now, and she like stepped up to Littlefinger and he was like, tell me what you think they did. I was like, oh man, make him say it. And Littlefinger was just completely caught off guard.
Right.
She's learned to play the game, but I feel like Littlefinger might still have his claws in her. He still has some level of manipulation.
Right, but I mean, you can definitely tell through everything she's gotten a lot harder of a character.
And you can definitely tell, like he even mentioned it, he's like, I underestimated Ramsay. I don't know if he was telling the truth, but I think he's been underestimating Sansa. Now he's like, okay, now I gotta, whatever I do next, I have to think farther ahead. So yeah, she's a serious player in the game now.
Well, and he's definitely been taking her as the young girl, and now now that she's
a strong woman.
Yeah, all of this experience, she's shown how much it's affected her. So because of that situation, then Sansa and Jon have a confrontation. Well, not a confrontation, but they have a
little ripple there.
Right, and everybody kind of knew she was hiding something, but of course, because everybody assumed she's the sweet little girl, nobody really questioned it.
Now, did she not tell Jon about the meeting with Littlefinger because of the other people in the room, or did she not tell Jon because she hasn't seen Jon in 5 years? There still could be a level of mistrust there.
And she wasn't very close to Jon before.
Yeah.
Like, she was the one sibling who really didn't like Jon.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of feel, I think she might not, I don't think it's that she doesn't trust Jon. I think she's trying to keep some things like either close to chest or up her sleeve so that like she has some kind of leverage later on. I mean, I don't know why she would use anything against Jon, but he didn't want to fight, when they first had this conversation, so maybe she's not willing to share everything with him right now, but it was peculiar. I don't
Well, I guess too, everybody she's learned from has always had that secret up their sleeve, and so maybe it's her way of starting to be that way, like she's learned. But then also, I mean, I thought the same thing you did, where it was like, well, there were other people in the room, but then later she does get asked about it, and she's still...
Well, they're still not in a private setting.
Right.
When Jon and her are talking outside, they're still very much in the open. And what was interesting, though, was giving the house sigil. Like, she made a replica of their father's sigil on her cloak, on his cloak, to give to Jon. Now, is that supposed to be like an olive branch, almost like rebuilding the bridge and accepting Jon as a Stark?
Right.
And does that foreshadow something for the future?
I mean, it could also be another manipulative maneuver where she's like, she knows the North needs to follow the Starks. They mentioned how she has the Stark name. So it could be something where later it's like, look, he's with me, not so much he's a Stark. But I mean, you never know.
Yeah. Well, this is very much, we've reached the top of the roller coaster. For 6 seasons now, it's felt like we've been slowly climbing this roller coaster. And now these last seasons, it's just going to be a rapid downward fall.
Yeah, it does definitely seem like things are getting a lot more intense and like dire.
Yeah.
Okay, so on a more joyful note, Brienne and what's his name, Tormund. They had a very awesome
2016's hottest new couple.
I ship these. I ship them for real.
They have completely taken over the internet too, and I love it. I could not get enough of those memes. Those are great.
Just his creepy looks constantly. Yes. I love
that smile on the
horse. When he was looking at it,
he's like, I know,
hey baby,
you know what I got planned for us. Yes. Oh my gosh, he is. That's the funniest, yet I actually really root for that relationship to occur.
It's like, well, like at the beginning of the series, I was always like, I want Jon Snow and Daenerys to get together, and then I'm like, well, they might be related, so screw that.
Right.
And now this is like, I want them to get together.
But yeah, I think it's a nice soft note on such a it's a hard season. Like a lot of big emotional things have been occurring this season, so it's fun to have that kind of like comedic relief. But also it's really like sweet as well. It doesn't feel fake as much as it feels like somebody's still got their motives of just emotion, like love. They want to find somebody to love. And those two people are actually perfect for each other.
These individual motivations, like life motivations, still exist in this very grand scale.
Yeah, because everybody's talking about war and betrayal, and in this moment of two big characters that have never met, the instant they meet, he's just all into
He's
it.
super
I love
smitten.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially because he's always playing the tough guy, and to have him smitten is great.
And Brienne's response to that's very much in character for her because she was smitten
And
it
that
got
man
heart-
with the beard.
Well, yeah, she'd been smitten and got her heart broken when she was a teenager, and now like she's gone her entire life never having been sexualized by someone.
She's never really been, like yearned
Desired.
for.
Right.
Desired.
And I think that's part of it, but also the fact that when you see yourself a certain way and you just assume men aren't attracted to you, and this one guy is just kind of, she's not used to that. That's very foreign for her.
Yeah.
All right, so
Tyrion
Tyrion and Lord Varys had a fun little encounter with the new Red Priestess.
It looked like he got showed up a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
And you never see him get showed up.
He's always, like we said, somebody's always got the upper hand, and it's usually him because he's got his little birdies, his little secrets. But he was like, and that's one secret of his that he's only told. I think he told Tyrion just a little bit about
During
it.
the travels.
Yeah, but that's one thing that he has not said, and
and he's always emotionally like composed.
Yeah.
Like he's almost monotone about stuff because he just never shows much emotion either way. And then she didn't just get him; she almost got him crying.
Yeah.
And it was like, what is going on? Because obviously she hits on it pretty obviously, but there's something deeper that she's holding back on that she knows only those two are aware of.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to see that kind of get his character a little
I want to
deeper.
know who either it was that either said the name or like what name was said. Now I'm like super into that because I've always been interested by his backstory. Remember when he opened up that crate and he had that wizard or whoever that did that to him?
Yeah.
He was in that crate. I was like, and then
we learned who his birds really are.
Yeah.
So it's not just a system of spies. It's actually kids.
Yeah.
They're doing a great job of just feeding us a little bit of information at a time.
Yeah, just from random parts. Like if you just don't, it's not like you don't ever see it coming. So.
Especially because the ones they're really poking at are characters, especially like what we just talked about with Brienne. They're characters you don't really think about too deeply. And then they kind of make you. They're like, here's a little thing about them, now you like them a little more. And it's like, oh, wow. Like
and then they'll just move on and forget about it.
Yeah.
And it comes back. It's awesome.
All right, so Iron Islands, they touched on this a little bit the last episode, but this episode, they got right into the vote. I have to say, I was impressed with, was it Tywin? Not Tywin, what's his name?
His brother, the king's brother.
The king's son.
Oh,
Talk about Reek?
No.
Theon.
Theon Greyjoy, yeah,
I
Reek.
need to start with a T, sorry. But Theon, how he had a moment to ask for his claim, and he stuck to his guns about how he was going to support his sister.
Yeah.
And I was actually really
He's
impressed
not
by that.
mentally or emotionally capable of handling anything like
Right,
that.
but I mean, if you see his character arc, it's actually kind of gone the opposite of most characters.
Right.
Where he started out pretty high, thinking really well about himself. He even tried to step up and be that bigger character, and he's
Just got undercut.
humbled himself a lot. And I think it's
Humbled himself is one way to put it.
He
but-
endured a very humbling experience.
But I mean, honestly, he could have
think
come
he's
back from that, and he had all the
broken.
encouragement from his people to back off from what he said with his sister and take that because
He's
he
still
would've gotten-
broken. He's still
Yeah.
just broken.
But he's also a lot nicer. I mean, obviously he helped Sansa,
Yeah.
and then now he's helping his sister. I think he used to be a womanizer. He used to see women as nothing.
He doesn't have a lot of motivation anymore.
Yeah.
Well, but you're
He's
taking
literally
it.
lost his
You're
sex
taking it on
drive.
such a shallow level. This is Game of Thrones. They make things a lot deeper than that. And I think his emotional state is he's definitely coming around to be a better person.
He's great, and I think he's just more Like, I think he's more comfortable with, like, you know, serving someone else, and that's why it's so easy for him to fall in behind his sister. At least she's not, you know, cutting off body parts.
Right, or
she's like a
filleting
family
people.
and, like, you know, really care about her. So, yes, like, she's been doing this for so long. Like, let her
And she does have a good track record.
Yeah.
But
They took all the fleets, and...
But again, yeah. So then, what's his name? Because I always say it wrong, and you don't like that I say his name wrong.
Euron?
Yeah, Euron. Comes in and out of nowhere and just decides that his story's cooler and he's going to take it. And because they're all chauvinistic pigs, they
Real quick,
jump on it.
I have to say, between Theon and Viserys, I'm really kind of interested in the scientific explanation behind medieval castration and how they, you know, survive and carry on bodily functions. But I'm not interested enough to actually Google it because I don't want to see the images that are going to
Where
come
did
up.
this come from?
I could Google it right now, but I think we'd all be a little...
Yeah,
worried.
you'll never forget that moment.
Well, I mean, Euron came out and was Donald Trump of the Iron Islands. He was talking about, you know, his manhood and how large it is.
Well, but
as
you
part of
you addressed
each of
this
his-
point last week, where with the Daenerys situation, where how the culture of this whole place is very male dominant.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you're on an island away from everybody. All of these places are very male dominant, and they even almost swayed this island to be okay with having a queen. And then because he came in that last minute,
But also
ruined
his
it.
pitch was that he was, I'm gonna be your king, and then I will go marry, you know, Daenerys, and then our arms will form. And like, I mean, he's still like, he's putting all his eggs in a woman, as
Right.
well,
Yeah.
Which I mean, he should. I mean, she's super powerful, but I think she's
But of
already
course,
married,
he's
though,
he's
right?
putting it in.
No, she
in
was
that-
going to be married, and then like her betrothed just kind of disappeared. Like
Right.
she was engaged,
Yeah.
and that's what they were having the tournament for.
Did he
and
get
then
killed at the?
They went to the. I think he did
He
get
did
killed.
get killed.
Stadium?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he got killed at the stadium when they had the big
That's right.
big tourney.
Okay.
And the
But again, he's
left.
not putting all of his emphasis on her being the leader. He's putting all of his emphasis on if he marries her, then he'll be the leader of her as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, okay.
Okay.
yeah, right. I mean, we know that, but they're off on an island away from everything.
She just killed
and
him.
he tries to act like he's
Crap
some
load of
cultured.
Dothraki. Like,
He's some cultured guy that can teach them new things. And I think we're going to learn really fast how that works out.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to move on to the most emotional part of the episode.
Well,
What?
Arya. We're not going to touch on Arya at all.
I mean, what do you want to say about Arya?
Well, she's at this very specific point, a very specific decision point. Now, is she really going to be a faceless man? Is she going to kill someone she doesn't feel needs
She
killing?
is going to be a faceless man until it doesn't see
Right.
her any
And
longer.
we did kind of touch on this last night a little bit while we were watching it, is that I think she's going to embrace it, but then there's going to be a moment where she's probably going to get like her brother or her sister as one of her targets. And the whole thing was about how she didn't even know this other person, and they were actually making fun of her family. She still questioned it.
Yeah.
She's like, why? She's a good person. Why would I kill her? And he's always like, you don't ask questions. And so I think that's a foreshadowing of there's going to be a moment where she's going to have a sibling that she's got to kill, and then that's when she's going to break away from it. And
But is this decision, is she going to go through with this murder? I don't see it. I don't see it in her. She's never killed anyone she didn't felt deserve it. This will be the first person that she doesn't have a personal investment in assassinating.
I feel like this will be her Kylo Ren moment. This will be her. She's going to go against what she really feels because she just really wants something else.
She might even kill him, like the main guy. I think.
Didn't
like,
that
when
kind of happen
Well,
already?
They already showed like a faceless man could be anyway, because they killed him and like she
Right.
kept peeling away the faces. So the waif could be the faceless man could be the faceless man. They're all faceless men. They're all one person. That's how they've been brainwashed.
Right.
These individuals have been brainwashed to think in this type of this
They
way.
just kind of take the role of whatever needs to be
Yeah.
filled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the big stuff on her is going to come on the next level of her story. Like everything here is kind of still like a
Padawan.
teetering, balance.
She's Luke Skywalker on Dagobah right now.
she's pretty good at fighting already. Though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Although she
got
did
the
get her
crap
butt
kick- Yeah, she got the crap kicked out of her butt. It's still some pretty impressive moves.
But yeah, I think she's. her story is going to be really crucial down the road.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they would put this much effort into the faceless stuff
yeah.
and then just be like, okay, she's not going to go through with it. I think she will go through with it, and it'll change her to where she's almost as mute about this killing as all the rest until it becomes a sibling. I think that would be the best way to really go with that storyline.
Yeah.
But, all right, are you ready for Bran now?
Yeah, I'm ready for Bran now.
All right, so a lot happened with Bran under the tree. We'll start off with the most basic stuff. So he's starting to...
A little flashback where he sees the creation of the White Walkers.
Right, we learn how the White Walkers came to be, and we learn why they were created. And then we also learned...
We also learned that Bran is still the same Bran we saw in season 1.
Right.
Doing exactly what he was told not to do.
Yeah, super selfish.
Yeah.
And without regard, and...
Doesn't think about consequences and lives through impulse.
But I think now with...
You think this is the lesson?
Yeah, he's got death on his hands
You don't think paralyzation would have been... Like, I think paralyzation
No,
would have
that
been...
made him just more hungry and more selfish. Like, he was like...
Now he's a victim.
He self-harmed himself.
Yeah.
And now he's like, oh, I got, this guy, this sweet... Objectively, the sweetest and nicest guy.
Yeah, don't jump into that too far yet. But yeah.
Well,
but
I'm saying,
okay.
it's the conversation. Like, now he's got to deal with the death of Hodor.
You went straight to it.
I got to go. We got to go there. That's what the story's at.
But I mean...
He didn't just kill Hodor. He caused Hodor to warg into... He called Willis to warg into his future self and then live the rest of his life with the knowledge that he's going to die
but not
in
just
this situation.
That. Yeah. Bran, because he did a selfish move of doing his trance thing. I don't remember what it's called. But he did that, huh?
When he warged?
Yeah, he did that when everybody was asleep. And because he had to dabble in that on his own, the White Walker grabbed him, which then made it to where everybody was vulnerable, which then led to the ultimate ending of Hodor and the direwolf and all the kids.
And the children.
Yeah, it's like, come on.
But he caused the extermination of a species. He caused mass genocide. He caused the loss of his direwolf.
Was it massive? There's only 5?
It's massive enough.
It's an entire species.
Yeah, I know.
He caused a genocide, the death of the three-eyed crow, the death of Hodor, the death of Summer.
He didn't really. I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a second. He didn't really cause the death of the children because they're the reasons the White Walkers existed. So technically, that was their own fault coming back and finishing it.
Certainly.
Right. But it was
They played a role in their own deaths, but the actual point that they died was directly caused by Bran.
They
set the stage.
Yeah,
well,
they
they've
like,
been
okay,
waiting.
No,
you find out they've been waiting this whole time for that moment, and then they get that moment and they jump on it. So
they had their ducks in a row. They were fine until Bran messed things up.
Right.
They had that little spell in a little place where they couldn't get in. And Bran is the one who essentially just broke that. But,
so Bran is really, we're seeing how well-intentioned people can be truly terrible.
Right.
Like, this show is, bringing that to light. Because we're seeing Bran is a boy, and he's supposed to be a very likable character. We're supposed to like Bran, but he's the worst character in the show.
He's not the worst. He's just the problem is he's a kid, and he's got all these
kids are just tiny little Nazis.
He's got all these adult
as Donald Glover
expectations,
says. Not Donald Glover,
and then you put adult expectations on a kid, you're gonna get kid results. You know what I mean? And it's just the situation of you're putting too much emphasis on this
situation
kid.
of Carl, get back in the house.
Right? Yeah. He is, okay. Yeah. I'll say that. Bran's the Carl of Game of Thrones. It's like, where are you, Carl?
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, but yeah, Hodor, you feel like he's a simpleton the whole time until that last moment, and then it all makes sense, and it breaks your heart.
Yeah.
I literally cried. I couldn't believe it, but then if he did know how he was going to die his whole life,
he's like the most
he still
noble
chose,
dude.
because he still chose to help the Starks. He still chose to risk his life for the kid, and then at the end, he still made the sacrifice. It's like that. That is amazing. It makes you love him so much more.
That's why he was freaking out, when Bran was still unconscious.
Because he knew this moment.
This was that moment.
This is happening.
And the whole time, you're thinking Hodor's just being childish Hodor,
he's just, freaking
but
out.
no, he knows his death is about to happen. He knows that this is that moment.
I want to go back and I want to see when they first come to the tree or inside the tree if Hodor has a hesitation. because it's one of those.
I don't think so
moments
because
where when you see inside of that place, you would recognize that.
they didn't have he didn't have the script for this season yet at that point. They didn't have the script because they didn't know this storyline until they finished up with season 5.
But we did watch the extra stuff at the end and they did talk about how the author didn't know where Hodor was
the author knew,
supposed to come from.
but the scriptwriters and the showrunners didn't know. So I don't think that.
Right, but it could
they
be
were
like the
intentionally
Snape
played it
thing
far ahead.
in Harry Potter, where only Snape knew this secret until the moment it occurred.
Yeah.
So I would assume it would be neat if they did something like that.
It's not out of the realm of possibilities.
Right.
I remember because I watched back and looked, like you can tell, like when Melisandre and Jon Snow like first meet way back in season 3 or 4, like there's like an obvious glance and it's like through some fire and they're like stare at each other and like she's like taken off guard and they never touch on that until the beginning of this season.
Right.
But that's different.
Right, and it is Hodor, so the problem is his subtle things you could just take as something else.
Yeah.
And so because we always saw him as a simpleton, so you never think anything goes too deep with him. All right. So let's get into the future of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in the cinematic world, because he said he's only going to do one more Wolverine movie, and he's hanging up his claws. And I did read articles about this because I really wanted to know the real reason behind it, if it was contract or if it was... And Hugh Jackman has decided he wants to do only one more because he's tired of having to eat the Wolverine diet.
Yeah.
Because
Makes sense.
if you watch episode
pretty
1, if you watch the original X-Men when he first got cast, he was not built at all. I mean, he was in good shape, but he wasn't
And then
anything
they
like...
go back in time and he's like super fit. It's like, oh, what happened there? But
Right, and that's kind of the funny thing is he took it way more seriously once he realized how this was going.
Well, this made his career.
Right, but not just that. I mean, he's a great actor who's very committed to these things. So, I mean, you saw like Les Mis. He changed his look
he's
completely.
amazing.
Yeah. So then you got back in Wolverine, and he's jacked again, and I can totally get it because he's pushing 50. And so that's hard for
he does not look 50
anybody.
at all.
That's hard for anybody, and he's been this character for 17 years. So that's a pain. Like, to be committed for 17 years
That
to
is
having to
nuts.
look that good, and he always looks better.
Yeah.
Like, every movie, he looks better. And it's like, you're getting older, dude. You really are Wolverine. It's like, how is this happening? But
he's Benjamin Button.
but again, we have the Spider-Man issue we talked about last week, where they're going to revamp Wolverine at some point, especially because now Hugh Jackman's made Wolverine so huge.
Yeah.
That's a big franchise for Fox, and there's no way that just because Hugh Jackman can't do it anymore, that they're going to be like, well, we're not going to have Wolverine anymore because Hugh Jackman can't do it.
Yeah, because if you think about it, I mean, they've still got the whole other side of the franchise.
I mean, look at
super
Fantastic
successful.
Four.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But like they have this whole other franchise, so they can't just like redo Wolverine and then keep the rest of that. So I mean, it's
Well, there is talk that Apocalypse will be the last X-Men series for Bryan Singer's universe. So if they redo X-Men, it'll be somebody else's, and they can basically start all over again.
And hopefully they'll work with Marvel again, and we'll see a
And what kind of kills me about that is, I loved how they did go back with like First Class, and it was like a revamp.
It felt like it.
And then they did Days of Future Past and really integrated both of them together. So it was really cool because you're realizing that time travel has now changed that old universe.
Yeah.
So you can keep going with this new universe, but still kind of tied to that one.
Yeah.
But it feels like they're
But
going to
now Hugh
end it with
Jackman's leaving,
Apocalypse.
so they got to figure something out.
Yeah. And do you guys have any ideas of who you think would be the new Hugh Jackman? Who's your top choice?
I mean, Tom Hardy looks pretty good as Wolverine.
Right. But also on that point, if Tom Hardy did it, he's not the youngest guy either.
That's true.
So if they revamped it within the next 2 years after they did the last Wolverine movie, I could see. But then you got to think of someone young now, in my opinion, to really be ready to start over a new Wolverine franchise. Unless it's like the Andrew Garfield thing, and you're like, 2 movies, we're done. We're getting someone else now. I mean, and I feel like that could be possible because he's such a big character, but I don't know.
I saw a suggestion for Shia LaBeouf, which I loved. I kind of love that suggestion.
I love Shia LaBeouf.
I think that'd be kind of awesome. And then
I do think that would. As I think about this, it's like, that makes a lot of sense. He can pull it off. I can
Shia
see
LaBeouf
it.
could totally do it.
Yeah.
And
You
I
just have to bulk up.
Yeah. And then another suggestion I saw on the internet was the actor that plays Ramsay Bolton. that could be an opportunity to revamp his career after playing this.
I hate him too much.
Yeah, just like I hate him. Mostly,
but physically, he fits the role almost a little better than Hugh Jackman did when he first got cast. But he's shorter, and
Here's the real thing. I don't care.
Right.
I have zero emotional or investment.
No, now I really want Shia Lebouf.
Yeah, like, because I know whoever they're gonna cast, they're gonna find the right person.
Like Heath Ledger as the Joker.
Yeah, like Heath Ledger.
I never thought he would kill it, and he was amazing.
Or Tom Holland as Spider-Man. Or even Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. They're gonna find the right person, and it's gonna be amazing.
There are people who are paid to do this, so they know what they're doing.
Yeah, and I trust them.
But they need to do Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf would be awesome.
Because that is rocking my world. Even Stevens, man. Yes, let's do this.
That is funny. His career, in my opinion, has gone the right way, even though he personally has gone crazy. He's always.
Did you watch that live stream where he watched his own every single one of his films for like 48 hours?
Yeah, I heard about that. I didn't see it though, but I heard all about it.
It was oddly captivating, just sitting there watching him watch his own stuff.
Because I feel like he's not actually crazy. He's like a super genius.
Yeah, and you could tell like when he was watching the Transformers, she's just like, oh God.
Well, because that's the thing is he went from that, and then
he went in reverse order.
Well, but he did. I'm talking about in real life. He did that movie, and everybody thought it was going to make his career again. And then it kind of tanked on the last one. And he did these publicity things where he wore the bag that said, I'm not famous and stuff. And people thought he was going nuts. It's like the Joaquin Phoenix thing. It's his way of degrading himself to make himself look better, or to make himself like out there more. And then when he brings in scenes like Fury, like he nailed it in that movie.
Yeah, he did.
And he's so, I don't doubt him ever. But my theory, because I was thinking about this a lot, and I was going through a lot of casts, or a lot of randoms, and I was trying to think of American actors, I was trying to think of Canadian actors, I was trying to think of anybody. And of course, you assume everybody's going to, like, you can only really find famous people that might be able to do it. And then I was wondering about the age thing, like I brought up. And then the natural progression for me actually went, why would it need to be a guy? Because
we go X-23.
Yes.
I went through my mind when I was thinking about this, and then I was like, I really don't care.
Well, no, because that's the best way of redoing Wolverine without having to make it actually be Wolverine.
Yeah.
So you can play Hugh Jackman's character as still being a figure in this universe, and it's the loss of Wolverine now leads to, because they've done the Weapon X projects on all these different movies now.
I now want the girl from
Even Stevens?
No, the girl from the movie Kick-Ass. What's her face? Chloe Menendez.
Yeah, I did have a moment where I thought about that, and I was like, I think she could pull it off, but I really want almost like a nobody.
Chloe Moretz.
I really want almost a nobody to take it, kind of like Hugh Jackman took it and it made his career. I think there's a great actress out there who could really take this and just make some awesome movies. And I love the idea of it being X-23 because, like I said, they played in the Weapon X stuff. I mean, they got the Deadpool talking about it. They got 2 or 3 Wolverine and X-Men movies that are touched on it.
Yeah.
And it's you're not really getting a lot out of Weapon X except for 2 obvious characters. And then the third obvious character that's not been touched on at all yet is X-23.
There's also like X-13, who is my favorite of all the Weapon X's.
Yeah.
He wore like all white with a white trench coat and could teleport and used guns. Yeah. But he was my favorite. He was by far my favorite Weapon X.
But I mean, that's the thing is if you get into that, because Cable is coming in the next Deadpool movie. You could almost have like a new X-Men.
Has there been hints yet at who's playing Cable?
Ron Perlman has been like.
Really?
Yeah.
That would be.
I thought they had it cast already. I didn't think it was Ron Perlman though, but that makes sense.
Well, I've seen him talk. I mean, I've seen his name get thrown out there a lot.
I think Ryan Reynolds has definitely figured out who he wants to.
Ron Perlman or Sin City, the wrestler.
Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke. Yeah. Mickey Rourke is another person I would like to see play Cable.
But yeah, I just think it would be an easy transition. Fans wouldn't be pissed off, and it would give you that segue of time to where you can really go back and do Wolverine again, and people won't be pissed because you jumped right off on Hugh Jackman's Wolverine.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a fun experience because you get a new hero who's basically the exact same as this other one, but she's a woman, and her character has this cool story arc that's nothing like Wolverine's. And the fact that she is Wolverine genetically just morphed to a woman because supposedly the male genetic code wasn't working, so they tried this. I think it's great. And then you can constantly be bringing up Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in these movies, and you never have to worry about
that'd be
the
awesome.
other stuff. So.
Girl power.
Yep. Are we done? I think we got everything. You guys got any more points you want to bring up?
We're done.
All right. Thank you for watching this week's Game of Thrones. No,
We wish.
this week's Know You're Wrong. Like and subscribe, share, and go to our Facebook page. I don't know which camera to look at, so I'm just going to keep looking back and forth. And if you have any suggestions for what we should talk about, what you want to hear, anything you guys got for pointers, comments below, and we will definitely take those and talk about them here on Know You're Wrong. I'm Colin Buckingham, Joey Skaggs, Michael Kolb. Thank you for watching. How close was that?
Yeah.
See, I nailed it!
This guy.
I nailed it!
No.
All right. Okay. Cool.
That's why I started with